Back. And we apologize for the delay. And but we think we have fixed the technical problem that we had. And we're going to be bringing Chris on here in a minute here. So thank you for your patience. Is that better? Is that better? Oh,
Still blurry.
is it still blurry?
It was good.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll wait a minute here, but we do apologize for the technical difficulty. We hope this clears up. But we will bring our guests on, and we're going to go on with the show. Again, my name's Oliver, and this beautiful lady to my right is the co-host and co-founder of Truly Live, and we bring this audience uh, relevant information and inspiration, transformation, and empowerment. And tonight we have a very special guest that's going to add some value and build some goodwill in our community. And I'm going to go ahead and just bring him on stage. Let's do that.
Okay,
Let's
let's
do
do that.
that. Yeah, there he is.
Hey
Hey,
there. Can you
hey,
hear me
Chris.
okay?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. How you
All
doing?
right. I'm doing great. Doing
All right.
great. Good to
All
see
right.
you and Oliver and Yolanda. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you so much for being with
For
us.
being with us and being willing to come and share with us again in the community. We appreciate your big heart.
Okay, this is good.
Okay, Yolanda said it looks good on there on
Yeah, it
YouTube.
looks good. You guys are coming through clearly here.
Okay, well, thank you so much. But we're gonna go ahead and move forward with the. Oh, there you go. Carol said we looks better. All right, good. All right, so tonight and what our partner and someone that um, is doing great things in his community, in his line of work, his expertise. Um, Chris is not only a friend, but Chris is a college mate of Yolanda and I. He's a Winston-Salem State University grad. Shout out to all of the Rams who might be viewing tonight.
SU.
Yes, you.
All
Yeah.
right.
But Chris comes to us with a wealth of experience and a wealth of knowledge in the areas tax consulting and business consulting. And if you've been around with us for at least a year, you know that Chris was with us back last January. And it's a timing thing with bringing him on in January. It's quite obvious that we're in a new tax cycle. And so we want to be able to lean into Chris's expertise and make this information available to the communities that we serve digitally. So, to
Oh wow.
Kind of going out and coming in.
Yeah, I can hear. I can hear.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
okay, how
Applying.
about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome, Chris, and just happy to have you here.
Well,
And
thank you.
yes,
Glad to
sir.
be here.
Right. So, listen, we know that we know that uh, tax is your um, biggest expertise, but you're also an entrepreneur, and
I am indeed. I beg to differ. I think being an entrepreneur is probably my biggest biggest passion slash expertise.
oh, okay, good. We'll see.
We
You got me aligned right off the bat. Thank you.
no worries. But I do enjoy being an entrepreneur. This, in fact, is our 20th year as an entrepreneur with H&R Block. So we're celebrating 20 years as a franchisee. And in honor of that, I commissioned my son to do a logo for us. You know, when you're in business, you never know how long you're gonna be in business. So I figure after 20 years, now it's time for us to get a logo for our business. So he's working on that, and we're starting to look at it. And we're excited to have celebrated 20 years in business, and particularly being an entrepreneur. And as you all know, the last 20 years have not been the easiest time to be in business, particularly back in '08 and in 2020. So we are battle tested. We've been through the storm, and we've come out on the other side, and we're still standing. So to that, I say, glory be to God. Without him, we would not be anywhere near where we are at this point in time.
Wow. But look, you know, Yolanda and I stepped our foot into the water 5 years ago when we started our business, and we know, man. Look, from the 5 years that we've been in here, we know that it is a challenge to build a business.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a huge challenge to build a business, and we're just at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And by the way, we do have our logo, and actually have it and actually have it read. We just got it read.
It's
trademark registered.
Yeah.
So
all right.
Excited about that.
That was a long process because we started that during the pandemic.
Yeah, that was about a 2-year process.
It took incredibly too long, but yeah, we got that done. So Chris, let me ask you quickly, how many franchises do you own?
Within H&R Block, we have 14 stores still. And I'm comfortable there. And you know, it's kind of like playing baseball. The strikes come, the balls come, you just let them go by. You don't have to swing at every pitch that comes along. So that's one lesson we've learned. But we're in a good place. We're at a good size, and it works for us. And so yeah, we're at 14 in 2 states, North Carolina and Virginia, primarily centered in the central part of North Carolina. Couple of stores in Danville, Virginia, for those in that area, and we have some over in 3 stores over in the western part of the state near Lake Lure.
Okay.
And Rutherfordton, Cleveland County. That area. I grew up in Cleveland County, Shelby, Cleveland County. So yeah, so we're kind of spread out all over the place, and of course you know about the DMV. We run one of the tag agencies here in Durham, and some real estate investment as well. So one of the other things I'm proud to be doing in the decade of the 60s is mentoring. I have a young man working with me this tax season, and he's shadowing and learning and just being a sponge about the entrepreneurial journey. So that's a fun thing to be a part of, and just to experience that, and looking forward to continuing to work with a young man by the name of Tyler Davis. He lives here in Durham. I mean, in Raleigh area, and so.
Well, it sounds like that he's made a good decision, and he's doing what a lot of out of the gate entrepreneurs don't do, is they try to do it alone without any guidance or mentoring or coaching, and spend a lot of time before they finally realize that that they need help.
Yeah, so I
commend that young man.
Yeah. So I got him started with reading material right off the bat, and my son Grant is also in the business. He's helping us at a very global level across all of the businesses. He works primarily in the DMV, but he's got his hands in the H&R Block business and the real estate business, and he has his own business as well. He's a graphic designer. He does web design, that type of thing.
Wow.
So yeah, it's entrepreneurship is the way. So many folk are focused on trying to get equity in our community.
Hmm.
And to be honest with you, equity is the enemy of freedom. The fabric of America is freedom. America will choose freedom every opportunity it gets. And freedom and equity are polar opposites. Now, having said that, entrepreneurship is the way forward, particularly for African Americans. If you can create your own and carve out some space and do things that will generate and create wealth for you and your family, the equity aspect of it will take care of itself.
Yes.
So I'm a firm believer of that. There are some areas where we truly do need to focus on equity, particularly around the education component. But just I personally like to replace equity with entrepreneurship, and I'm doing everything in my power to help our community move in that direction and just become more self-sufficient.
Yeah. Well, it appears that, there's been a huge shift over the last really 20 years where, we've moved from um, uh, moved from a industry-based economy to a knowledge-based economy, whereby you realize that they have real intellectual, which is all their experiences, all their expertise, all of their skill set, and that is their greatest opportunity for their greatest earning, for their greatest contribution, right?
Right.
And so there's a tremendous movement going on right now where, and I think COVID helped also ignite that, where people are really beginning to take their skill sets from out of the corporate community and beginning to do exactly what you say, and that is to leverage that uh, in such a way that it exponentially give them the opportunity to build equity,
Exactly.
generational wealth in their families,
And leave a legacy.
and leave legacy. So
Yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. As we move into that wealth generation and legacy building phase of our history, um, it's important to get started the right way.
Yes.
Yes.
Um, Most African Americans who are in business today are set up as a sole proprietor. And I think we talked about this last year. Why it's important to really consider what your entity type is as you get going down this path. Starting as a sole proprietor is not a bad thing, but once your business starts to grow and get consistent and generating profits, you want to pivot from a sole proprietor and move into something more suitable to your business. And when I say suitable, I mean giving you the opportunity to control more of what's happening with your business. When you're a sole proprietor, any profits you make, 100% of that is going to be subject to the self-employment tax. And there's just no way around that. So if you're consistently, making a profit of 50, 100,000 or more, running a sole proprietor business, you really want to look at moving to perhaps an S corp entity in an effort to have more control over how much tax you actually pay. Because when you move to an S corp, you can say, okay, instead of the $50,000 in profit that I had be subject to self-employment tax, I could pay myself a salary through the payroll process and the W-2 process of say 25,000. Now that 25,000 is subject to the self-employment tax as well, but the other 25,000 is only subject to the income tax. And so you would save yourself a considerable amount of money by avoiding the SE tax on the profits that you make year over year. And that really starts to add up, over the years. If you could save yourself $3,500 to $4,000 or $5,000 annually just by being a different entity type as opposed to being a sole proprietor, that's money that could add up over the years and have a significant impact on your ability to create wealth and to leave a legacy. So
All right.
something you want to consider as you are thinking about or actually traveling down the road of becoming an entrepreneur or self-employed and things of that nature. The other thing about being outside of the Schedule C entity type is that you're more in the mainstream when you're an S corp or a partnership or something like that. I've seen where, particularly during the pandemic, when the PPP money was being distributed, the money went immediately first to those who were S corps, the larger corps. The sole proprietors came along second, after that. And as we all know, the money didn't last long in round one. And thank goodness they were able to put in a round two that allowed everybody else to have some benefit as a result of the pandemic, and to be able to save and support their businesses as well. But fortunately for us, we were in that category of S corps, the mainstream, if you will. And when the government starts looking to help and support, they're going straight for the mainstream first, and everything else is on the fringe. So you don't want to be caught on the fringe during a time like that.
Right. So I'll get the sole proprietorship piece. I get the S corp piece. Where does the limited liability corporation fall into that?
That's an extra added benefit. As a sole proprietor, you can be a sole proprietor and still have limited liability, a sole proprietor LLC, and that gets you the limited liability protection that you speak of. But you also have that when you convert from just a pure sole proprietor over to an entity type for the limited liability, the separation of personal and business.
Okay, right. So, did you have a question, babe?
No, this is great
Yeah, this is
information.
great information. Yeah. Well, like I said, building a business there's a right way of doing that. And you mentioned that you encourage people to start out doing the business the right way.
Mhm.
It will save you time. It will save you money. And so what else from a tax perspective? What should one consider when considering starting a business?
There are several factors to take into account. Oftentimes we feel like being in corporate America, we don't really have the skills to kind of start a business, and nothing could be further from the truth. You can take a lot of the skills you have and you develop and you've honed in the corporate world and transform those same skills into running your own business. Mm-hmm. Now, I do it. I don't encourage you to do this in a haphazard way. There's a book out there I would encourage everybody who's seriously thinking about entrepreneurship to read. It's called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And I think we talked about that book last year. Hopefully some folk have read it. I picked it up and read it. And that was the first thing I gave to Tyler Davis, is the book. So often, you're in a corporate environment and you say, okay, I want to go out, I want to do my own thing. And you may be passionate about doing the one thing that you were hired into that business to do. And that's, let's say, for example, it might be doing graphic design for the ABC Corporation, global corporation. So when you come to work in the morning, the thing that you focus on is doing graphic design as an employee. Once you become an entrepreneur, now you're not only responsible for getting the work done, you're responsible for, are the lights on in the building? Are the utilities working and the premises working, functioning the way that they should? And then you're thinking your passion is only about doing the work. Well, there's so many more hats you have to wear when you when you start a business on your own, and that can be time consuming and frustrating for the person who just wants to be a individual contributor. So you have to know yourself and know how you like to work, and initially know that when you start a business, there are several hats to be worn. You may have to wear them all initially.
Yeah, oh, yes.
Until you can create the plan and the job description for each job, and then get to the point where you can hand that hat to somebody else and let them wear it. And that's truly the work of building an enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to the point to where, there are several hats, but you don't have to wear them all. And then you get to the point to where you're not working in your business, you're working on your business to develop it and to make it truly an enterprise that will support you, your family, and create that generational wealth and leave a legacy that you speak of.
Well, look, you're talking directly to Yolanda and I, because we're right in that process, and we have had to step back, and because it's a different mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
I spent 39 years in corporate America, and I was a good employee. I consider myself that, and I had success in what I did.
Yes.
But like you said, this world of entrepreneurship takes a totally different mindset. And in fact, we've spent a tremendous amount of time with our mentors working on the mindset, because we're understanding that your business will be basically a reflection of who you are.
Exactly.
Who you are. So mindset is really the foundation of one's business, and which eventually builds the culture, which eventually attracts the customers and attract the partners. And so we certainly understand what you're saying there. There is a huge difference.
Now you speak of culture, and we're in a mode and a period in our history where remote work is the thing, and that really is just tearing away at company culture. That there's no way to create a company culture when everybody's remote.
Mm-hmm.
Remote is a wonderful thing, but I think it has its place and its time. If you're going to pivot to that as a model, I think you're going to be short-sighted in terms of how your enterprise will continue to thrive. Think about it for a minute. If everybody's remote and everybody's always been remote, the experienced people who came out of the corporate environment, who were able to, because of close proximity, learn the skills that they actually learned while they were inside the four walls with other people, they can take those skills home and still function and be efficient. But if you've got the college student coming out of school, going directly into a remote work environment, your enterprise is going to function for a period of time, but for longevity, you're putting it at risk, because your young people that are coming behind your experienced people, they don't have proximity to power. And being in close proximity with those people that you work with inside the four walls of a business has a tremendous impact on your ability to learn and to grow and to develop.
Right.
Now, having said that, are there some advantages to being remote? Absolutely. Are there some jobs that can function in that mode 100%? Absolutely. But I think you need to look beyond just the short term and look at long term, because those of us who are benefiting from remote work right now are going to have sons and daughters moving into the workplace in the next generation. And we're putting them at a disadvantage when we don't allow them to be in close proximity to others who have expertise and skills that they need to be literally in close proximity in order to learn. I'll stop right there and see if there's anybody who wants to challenge that school of thought.
Well, well, there is the option of mentorship, of mentorship, because I mean, if we are serious about our business, then we should be growing and expanding. And I mean, that's kind of what happens with life. There is this upward spiral. So there is still the opportunity for coaching and mentoring and, expansion, through learning without actually being necessarily in four walls. There's so much that now happens virtually. We take a number of high level courses. And we were able to do that during the pandemic because so many things were shut down.
Right.
So yeah, that we, let's all stay on our growing edge, huh? How about that?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, whether we're inside of an organization or, whether you are a sole proprietor or, you own your own business, that continuous growth, like Yolanda said, and that continuous learning is so vital.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the tax season that is upon us.
Yes.
And sharing some tips and tools for your community there to take advantage of the tax laws and how they're structured for their own benefit. First off, I'll say that the e-file start date is Monday. The IRS will open and start accepting electronic filing this coming Monday, the 23rd. And the end of tax season, you get 3 extra days this year, will be April the 18th, because the 15th falls on the weekend, and the next day is a holiday in Washington, D.C., the 17th, I think. And so you will have until April the 18th to get your taxes done. Probably shouldn't be saying that to those who procrastinate, but
that's for personal tax.
We're certainly that you're not encouraging anyone, because I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do, right?
Right. That's personal tax. Now, if you're doing entities like an S corp or partnership, those tax returns are due on March 15th. March 15th. So it's time to get in gear. The W-2s are hitting the streets. They should all be distributed by the end of the month. And, the month of February is the time to get organized and get yourself an appointment and get your taxes done.
Mm-hmm.
So
you said the e-filing start date is January 23rd.
Yes.
And what was that? What was the date in March? You said what was due in March?
The entity returns like S corps, partnerships, anything that's got a K1. If you're getting a K1, you're generating the K1 returns are due March 15th. That's the due date for those. Now, there was a lot of talk this year leading up until literally the last week of the year that the 1099-K was going to be a big deal for the upcoming tax season. For it, they wanted to roll it out for tax year 22, and basically what that means that if anybody was exchanging money back and forth through these cash apps and Zelle and things of that nature, anything
PayPal.
over $600, those organizations that were serving as the platforms were going to have to issue anybody over $600, they're going to have to issue them what's called a 1099-K.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to have to reconcile whether or not that was money that was coming in as a form of a business or money that you were just exchanging, or you were paying your friend back for your share of the dinner or the lunch or whatever the case might be.
Right.
So that was going to create this huge distribution of 1099-Ks that not everybody, but literally a lot of people were going to be faced with, okay, what do I do with this and how does it work? But they decided to push that off for 1 year. So it won't happen in 22, but it will this time next year. You'll be dealing with it. They pushed it off for a year. And so I say that to say now's the time to get yourself organized around, if you're using these cash apps, if you're using Zelle, if you're using anything that's moving money between you and somebody else, if you're an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, things of that nature. The gig economy drives, a lot of these transactions that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage you to kind of get your house in order around, if you're doing it for business, I would encourage you to use maybe one app for business and another app for personal, if you can do that. But if you get it all together, just know that at the end of the year, you're going to get a 1099-K. Next year, not this year, you won't be dealing with it this year, but next year you'll get a 1099-K, and you're going to be faced with how to divvy up the funds that came to you, and what part was income that needs to be taxed, and one part was just money that was coming back to me that should be non-taxable. Now, if you can imagine, that's going to be a tricky thing to deal with at tax time. And a lot of people, won't get it right. Some will cause letters to come out later from the IRS and say, hey, you owe more money. Or if you didn't do it right and it's not in your favor, you can be certain you're not going to hear from the IRS that you paid too much money. So you want to make sure you get it done and done right. And
So that goes back to what you said earlier, that if you're going to venture down this road, that things have to be done in a certain way.
Exactly.
So that it don't become costly down the road.
Yes.
And there's a tremendous amount of transaction, like you say, that goes on through these apps. And your recommendation is to have one particular app designated if it's business, and one particular app that's designated if it's just personal transaction.
Exactly. Yeah,
right?
If you can do that, I'm the old school. I don't have Cash App. I don't use Zelle, but a lot of people do. And it's convenient, particularly even from a college student and a parent, moving money back and forth and that type of things. But just know that you're going to have to reconcile that, and you don't want to reconcile out of your favor to where you're being taxed on money that shouldn't be taxable.
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to make sure that you don't get that wrong at tax time.
So Chris, are there anything that we can do now here in January to impact our 2022 taxes?
So yes, there's always the IRAs that you can fund up through first part of April for 22. Some folk will get their taxes done, see what the impact is, and in some cases you might just be over into another tax bracket barely, which is causing your taxes to go up significantly. And something you could do is to put more money into an IRA to get you back into the other tax bracket and reduce your tax significantly. But you have to be in a what if mode. You have to have everything done and looking at it and understanding what the situation is before you can make that kind of decision. But you do have the opportunity to add to an IRA or retirement account, things of that nature in 23 that will have an impact on your taxes for 2022. Your 401k contributions this year for 22 or for 23, I think that you can go up to $27,000. You can put up to $27,000 if you're 50 or older. So lots of opportunity to start socking money away for that rainy day.
All right.
Now, some of the other things that you are eligible for and is getting to be pretty popular are these $7,500 tax credits for buying an electric vehicle. That is something that's out there. If you're looking and you're considering buying an electric vehicle, you want to factor in there's potential to get a $7,500 tax credit from the government if you buy the right car that's an electric vehicle. Now, the right car, quote unquote, is still a moving target, so to speak. But at a high level, if you're buying an electric vehicle that is manufactured or assembled in the United States, then that vehicle is eligible to have a $7,500 tax credit applied to it. Each manufacturer has a limited number that they can sell that would have that impact. Those limits will go away eventually, but in the short term, they're still out there. But there is an opportunity that it creates a really good incentive if you're buying an electric vehicle. The $7,500 would just make it a sweeter deal to complete the transaction. So that's out there. There's also the residential clean energy credit that you can get a credit of up to 30% of the eligible expenditure for solar, for making your residence solar ready. Solar, electric, wind energy, and other alternative energies is 30% credit in 2022 through 2032. But after that credit is going to start to decline over the years. But now is the time to be really moving and thinking if that's something you want to do. The next few years are a good time to make that transition to go to solar or some of these alternative energy sources, because you can get a tax credit of up to 30% of the cost, the expenditure.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a cap on the amount?
No, it just says 30% of the expenditure, of the eligible expenditure. Now, you have to look at what's involved in installing solar panels. So most of everything you would do in installing a solar panel would be considered eligible expenditure. But there are some things, that they throw that in there so that you don't put other things, you don't tie other things to transforming to solar energy from coal-powered energy. But yeah, that's an opportunity to take advantage of as well. And for the most part, those are the things those are the big items on the table. So we had some tax law changes. Last year was a pretty generous year as far as tax law was concerned. They were trying to help out with the pandemic. And so some of those tax credits have rolled back, And at the high level, it's just going to mean that the average American is not going to have as big a refund this year as they had last year. The child tax credit, for example, has rolled back to what it was before last year, which it was pretty generous last year.
Any surprises? Any things that we would be remiss not knowing?
I think I covered those. The $7,500 tax credit. And then you've got the 30% on the alternative energy sources. Just a heads up on the child tax credit and the earned income credit. Those things are not going to be as lucrative this year as they were last year. But just know also, after the tax year 2025, if nothing changes, a lot of the tax laws that we're taking advantage of now, we've taken advantage of since 18 to 25. There was this window that put us in the category of the taxes that we're dealing with right now. So in when you do your 2026 tax return, it would revert back to the way it was before, or the way you did taxes in 17, if they don't make changes or extend it between now and then. There's a big deal with the SALT, what's called the SALT tax, the state and local tax. That's capped at $10,000, and it really doesn't impact you if you're just a single homeowner with a moderately priced home. But if in places like the Northeast, they can get to state and local taxes of $10,000 fairly quickly. And if you're an investor and you have some rental properties, all of that starts to add up. There is a loophole this year. If you have one of these entities like a partnership or an S corp, the amount that you can't take over $10,000, there are some loopholes that allow you to move those expenses over to your entity return to reduce those profits before it comes back to your personal return. So again, the tax laws are being written for those who have S corps and who have partnerships, and you don't want to be out of the mainstream and on the fringe when it comes down to preparing and being eligible for the tax laws that are on the books today. So I would encourage you, if you got real estate, rental property, I would encourage you to have a good conversation with your tax preparer this year. There are some strategies you can use if you are, you have an entity that is an S corp or a partnership.
So, Chris, what do you say to the listener that they've been dealing with back taxes, maybe the last 8 years of their life, last 5 years of their life, and they seem to can't get that resolved, and it's almost like it's a thorn in their flesh. I know a lot of people experience that. Some people experience that. What would you say to that?
So that's we deal with those clients as well. We do have a service where we provide an opportunity to help people get out of their tax situation. The first thing we do is we'll sit down with a client who's in a situation like that and get to the point to where we can get a transcript of their tax situation. Because oftentimes they'll come in, they'll tell us about the last issue that's on their mind, that's top of mind, but we need to see the whole picture. Mm-hmm. And understand, so we can once they come in, we can get them to sign the documents that allow us to pull and see the entire tax situation. And a lot of these, the liability on a tax situation lasts for 10 years. So the IRS is going to, whatever they do, they're going to try to get you to have whatever you're trying to pay off paid off within a 10-year time frame. If you're dealing with an issue after 10 years, it just falls off the books. So if you're in year 8 and you can hang on for another 2 years, then that, whatever that was, will fall away unless the IRS does something to extend it. But what I would do is encourage them to sit down with someone like myself or an H&R Block tax professional, and we have what's called tax resolution services, where we can figure out, get the whole transcript, look at the whole picture, and then come up with a game plan for how to attack it.
Mhm. It's good not to get under that heavy rock.
Yes, but if you do get under the
Mhm.
heavy rock, you can't just bury your head and do nothing,
Exactly.
because that
Exactly.
compounds it even more.
Exactly.
You can get help, and you can get to the point to where you can create a payment plan that you can live with, and the IRS will accept. And but you can't do that if you just ignore the problem. You need to get on it and take some action. It's not going to go away. It's only going to get worse if you ignore it.
Exactly.
Well, that's good. You know, that's good information. There is a solution to every problem that we face, and the um, I early, and especially when they started working, they say, whatever you do for the rest of your life, you make sure you meet your tax obligation responsibility timely. You don't
Yes.
want to get entangled with the U.S. government and taxes.
Right.
So that
Absolutely.
it keeps a lot of people up at night.
Yes,
Yeah,
and we can help those problems. We can help them solve those problems, and get to a better place.
yes,
Get them unstuck.
yes.
Yes.
so that they can create more happiness and fulfillment in their life, right?
There you go. There you go.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. Well, thank you, Chris. Now, if for those that are listening, Yolanda is typing into the chat how you can reach out to Chris if you have tax your email address, and
Yeah, I didn't hear you. You were breaking up a little bit.
so Yolanda is going to place in the chat your email address. So
Okay.
Julie posted on screen.
yeah, and so if there's someone that would like to reach out to you,
Yeah, and I'm also on LinkedIn. You can look me up under LinkedIn. And we do a lot of posting throughout the year on relevant tax related issues. So if you wanted to follow, feel free to do that. If you want to stay up with the latest tax law changes and what's going on.
so
Okay.
so that's C.H. Wilson at hrblock.com. Is that
Yes.
correct, Chris?
Yes.
Yes. So if you have a need to reach out to Chris, you can reach out to him using that email address.
What's your LinkedIn information?
Just Chris Wilson is all right.
Okay.
It's by name with LinkedIn.
Okay, so we're gonna start following you on LinkedIn.
All right. Well, this
All
has
right.
been fun. I've enjoyed it. Hopefully, we've shared some knowledge with some folk who can make it actionable. And I'm looking forward to the next time.
Oh, absolutely. You know, certainly Yolanda and I have benefited from this time, and I'm certain that others have. But it's a great resource for the community, and hopefully those that had questions got their questions answered, or at least got some insight or some expanded awareness about, number one, the importance. The biggest thing I got out takeaway is that, you know, there is a certain way to do business. We need to do business in that certain way,
Yeah.
and
Right.
it just eliminates a lot of pain and unnecessary hardship when we do it in a certain way.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So we'll come to the top of the hour, and we want to respect here, and
We apologize for the technical
Yes.
difficulty.
Yeah.
We still seem to be having
Yeah.
a connectivity issue.
It's on our end, like our
Don't know what.
internet is
yeah.
not stable tonight for whatever reason, but we'll hopefully get that addressed, and we thank you for bearing with us, everyone.
Thank you so much for all that relevant information, Chris. It's just always so informative, and for me, it's very calming because when I know what to do, then I can do what I need to do. But
Absolutely.
but when nothing changes, nothing changes.
Nothing changes.
So
Yeah. All right. Well,
thank you so much.
again, I appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you and the group here, and looking forward to the next time.
And we'll do it again.
All right.
Outstanding. Well, we have come to the end of this episode of Truly Live. Thank you for being here. Yolanda and I are so happy and grateful that you're here. Our program, gratitude and Thanksgiving. And so, Yolanda.
And so what we do is we like to end with a blessing. We use the Dalai Lama's loving kindness meditation. We think it's a great blessing. So we bless all of you who join with us and those that you hold near and dear in your heart.
So may you be truly happy.
May you live in peace.
May you live in love.
May you know the power of forgiveness.
And may you live in the recognition that your life has deep meaning and good purpose.
That's the Dalai Lama's loving kindness meditation. Oliver and I add to that, may you live in the awareness of who you truly are. We extend this blessing to every being on the planet. And so it is.
And so it is. And until next time, my name is Oliver.
I'm Yolanda.
And together we are the
OK
Blues.
I know I have not always been what you want me to be. Even at times I pushed your sweet love away, but you stay right here beside me, never letting me go. Now I know the love I needed was right here all along. I know that love to forgive all the hurt and pain. Love is enough to ignore all you can change. Love is enough to make up for what you have made. I know that love is enough. God's love is enough. God's love is enough. God's love is enough. Imagine living life without you here with me. So glad this love will last an eternity. Oh, what joy and happiness I feel when I call your name. Now it is plain to see your love for me has held me